Hello everyone and welcome back to another week of Scope Buff Sports Live. I'm Zachary Giesensaw.
I'm Gia Henriken.
We've got a lot coming up for you today, so let's go ahead and get right into it.
She's back. After Ralphie 6 retired due to an indifference to running last month, Ralphie 7 is set to make her debut this Saturday against Wyoming. According to CUBuffs.com, the 1-year-old 700-pound bison does not have an indifference to running. Some could call it perfect timing like Shooter Sanders, as she is making her first gallop in front of a sold-out Folsom Field on family weekend.
Colorado suffered a frustrating defeat to the Cougars last week in Houston and will have to start the young Big 12 season 0-1. Let's send it to our Scope Buffs crew from the Space City with the post-game recap.
Yo, what's up, guys? My name is Oliver Hayes alongside Leopold Rivera IV. We are at TD ECU Stadium a little bit after the Colorado Buffaloes dropped this Big 12 season opener to the Houston Cougars by a score of 36-20. The Buffs, they got ran all over, they got thrown all over. The offense was not on the field for very much. They had 5 3-and-outs. Leo, there are so many things where we could start, but I guess let's start with the Houston offense, the Buffs defense. What happened on that side of things?
Well, what didn't happen first, Oliver? That's the question. Connor Wigman was able to throw the ball. He was able to run the ball. Dean Connors was able to run the ball. Houston's offense just had an absolute explosion tonight against the Buffs. And it didn't matter what scheme, what formation, what personnel Colorado put out there. They mixed and matched a few different looks, with linebackers and safeties. It didn't matter. Houston only punted the ball a single time throughout the entire contest.
Yeah, Houston was rather relentless with their attack. Not only were they able to get the ball going on the ground with Dean Connors going for 89 rushing yards and a touchdown and Connor Wigman going for 95 yards, a career high on the ground and 2 touchdowns. But they were able to get the ball in the air as well, as Wigman threw for 222 yards. Stephon Johnson, I believe he finished with 115 yards, somewhere in that range. The Houston Cougars offense was chugging. They were doing everything they could, and while the Buffs defense were able to force them into a lot of field goals, keeping them out of the end zone, only allowing 36 points for just one punt, which I guess is the most impressive thing of it all, which is rather sad. What can the Buffs defense do to clean up whatever happened today?
Oliver, I'm really not sure, because this is the second time in 3 games where Colorado's allowed over 400 total yards of offense. And when you look at, that number, there are a multitude of things they have to do better. First and foremost, they have to be more sound in their assignment and stop at the run. Again, it seemed like there was too many times they're, miscommunicating right before the snap. Guys are shifting over, trying to get in the right positions, and they just seem a little bit lost defensively. I'm not sure what else they have to do in the back end, whether it's personnel or groupings, but I think they just need to keep practicing and keep trying to improve.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's all you can do. And I think one of the big things is just the fact that we're seeing so many defensive substitutions, so many guys plugging and playing, seeing what exactly works. As Preston Hodge said, the coaches are trying to find consistency with this group on both sides of the field. Yeah. So looking at that offensive side where we saw Ryan Staub at the top of the depth chart being the only QB who saw snaps today, they were on the field for 13 minutes less than the defense, and that's not just the defense's fault. That's the offense's fault, as they had 5 3-and-outs. What did the offense do wrong today?
Yeah, Ryan Staub didn't have the greatest game, Oliver. He missed on a few, routine passes, whether it was out routes, the slant, to, I believe it was Marion Miller, that could have went for, a game-changing touchdown there, Oliver. There were just a few little throws that he missed, and he admitted that post-game. Ryan Staub and Deion Sanders both admitted post-game that he didn't have a great game. He kind of stunk it up with the 2 interceptions. But, again, it was just the inconsistency in establishing the run. We saw Simeon Price break a big one. He, again, led the team in rushing. But they just didn't have the opportunity to feed it to him, because in that third quarter, when you take up so much time, then you come down and you're down 9 points, Oliver. You can't run the ball down 2 scores. You have to sling it, and it puts the Buffs in uncomfortable situations.
Yes, and you talk about being in comfortable situations, you talk about trying to establish the run. Obviously, that came with not building momentum in the first quarter. After a great week of practice, you asked Coach Prime why they came out and had such a stinker performance. Yes. I mean, he mentioned it himself. He didn't know why. Yeah. Why they had such a great week of practice, why they had great film study, why they had great press conferences, why everything was so fantastic leading up to this Friday Night Lights game. Yes. And then they just came out here and laid a goose egg. What did Coach Prime say in this press conference, and how can the Buffs clean it up heading into Wyoming next week?
Well, he did mention the fact that it is a night game, Oliver. He said, they try with, these guys' schedules to, tailor everything to the athlete nowadays within NIL. You want to make sure these guys are getting aptitude of sleep. They study their rhythms, they study their nutrition. There are so many statistics and things that go into these athletes' bodies nowadays. And Coach Prime just says, quite simply, they're not ready to play night games. I don't know why that is. He didn't really have explanation for it. He said it doesn't matter because the other team's playing, the game at the same time too. But for whatever reason, the Buffs get their butts kicked at night, and those were the words from the head coach.
Yeah, he did clarify he was, quote-unquote, just saying that, so whatever that means. I think with his prior comments of thanking God for not allowing him to say what he wanted to say, he needs someone to blame, and I guess the night games are just the nicest way to put blame on something or other. But
Yeah.
either way, the Buffs have more than enough issues to focus on, more than enough problems in Houston tonight that came up on the field. And these aren't problems that just showed up in week 3. These are things that have been happening for the last 2 weeks, and things that even shown up since Dion showed up in Boulder.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of lost for words myself. Do you have anything more
Yeah,
to
you
add?
know, it was an ugly loss for Colorado, but they're going to have to turn the page and get going real quickly because they're going to have a Wyoming Cowboys team from, across the border that's going to want to come in and put a thump in, and they have a blueprint to do so, Oliver. This teams, are noticing something on film. When they're attacking the edge, they're doing the quick game. Whatever it is, it's been working, and teams see that on film. So they're going to need to wrap it up quickly if they want to have a chance against Wyoming next week.
Yeah, 100%. And we need to wrap it up quickly because it is late here. And next week it'll be late. The next 2 weeks it'll be late as those games will be kicked off at 8:15 back at Folsom Field. So a lot of bad news. Tough games coming up for the Buffs, but they'll need to get back on track. My name is Oliver Hayes alongside Leopoldo Rivera. And as always, you heard it here first.
Thank you, guys. The Buffs struggled to find consistency on offense and were outmatched by a balanced Cougars attack. Houston moved the ball all night, scoring on most of its drives and piling up over 400 yards of offense. Colorado had a few bright spots, including a long touchdown pass in the fourth quarter and a career night from defensive back Tifak Byards. Ryan Staub was at the helm, but the Buffs could not sustain enough momentum. Colorado drops to 1-2 on the season with more big tests ahead.
Hello and welcome into Buff Banner. My name is Paxton Haynes, joined today by Colby Wyatt. We're going to talk some Buffaloes football today. And Colby, you might be wondering why we had this big red panic button behind us. Well, the Buffaloes are 1-2 right now. And I don't know about you, Colby, but I'm right here with it. I don't know.
Now, hold on. I'm not sure we need to press the panic button quite yet. It is only just week 3. 3 out of 12 games have been played. And really, a major reason why I don't think it needs to be pressed yet is the biggest concern with CU is a lack of identity. And if we're going to take Coach Prime at kind of word value here, they're close to finding their identity, right? They're going to pick QB to start this week. If it's Salter or if it's Ryan Staub, it's going to be one of those two. And if they stick with that QB, they show progress. If they commit more to the run game, CU has some good running backs. Simeon Pierce, he averaged over 10 yards a carry last week against Houston. So really, there's so much potential there. I don't think the talent is the issue. And when talent isn't the issue, there's time to make the changes that need to happen. There's time to make improvements. And keep in mind, CU has only played one conference game, right? And the other loss was to Georgia Tech, who is an ACC competitor. So yeah, I don't think this needs to be pressed quite yet.
I don't know, man. I hear you, but we talked about that one conference game. That was Houston. When we were talking about the preseason, we look at all these teams. We look at the Big 12 slate this team is going to be playing in. Houston was the easy one. Houston was the layup. Like, that was supposed to be our Big 12, kind of enter into it, get the easy win there, and then finally we play these teams like BYU, like Iowa State, like Arizona State. And, I mean, we looked bad against Houston. We looked bad. Staub looked like a backup. The defense can't stop the parked car. Like, I'm not liking it at all right now from this Buffaloes team. I think that this Wyoming game is going to be a big tell of how we're going to look going forward. I think that really the Buffaloes need to whoop their butt, frankly. I think we're talking like 3 scores. If they let Wyoming hang, and God forbid they lose to the Wyoming Cowboys, I'm pushing that button all day long. And I guess another question is, if we do, say we lose to Wyoming, and if we can't hang against BYU, what does the panic button maybe look like for this team?
Well, yeah, I mean, if CU loses to Wyoming, this segment won't even be back next week because this will be pressed. It will be pressed right after the game, full panic, and that's when the program starts to get in trouble, right? Because if we look at last year when CU, coming into the season, they didn't have the best recruiting class, right? Then they won 9 games. And during the season, as people started seeing, hey, CU's doing good this year, that really gave CU a big boost in recruiting. Ended up top half of the Big 12. Right now, 2026 recruiting class is looking really weak, like one of the worst recruiting classes in all of Power 4. I think Coach Prime is kind of counting on a good 2025 season to help with that recruiting. So, a bad 2025 season means not a lot of recruits for 2026, and that means a decline. I mean, there is still hope for next year, We don't need to fully get into that, but yeah, it would be bad.
Absolutely. I think that I'll give you my honest opinion here, Colby. I think a panic button for this team means a long, hard look at the head coach. But I think maybe a little more realistically, I think that if we let Wyoming hang around, and if we can't if we can't hold our own against BYU, I think you have to go Lewis the rest of the way. That's my opinion. I think that moving forward, if Salter and Staub is just not going to happen this season, and it seems like Shermer's kind of coached the athleticism out of Salter a little bit. If it seems like those are not our guys, I think you have to look forward to next season, say this one isn't the one, and you let Lewis be the guy moving forward and let him kind of lead this team and find his way in Power 4.
Yeah, for sure. And, another point about the QBs is I think we've already seen Salter's floor and even Staub's floor, right? Like, the QBs, the team, I don't think they're getting much worse, right? Like, I mean, they might lose by more in coming weeks, especially when we get into harder competition, but I don't think they're going to perform any worse. So there's still so much potential. We haven't seen the upside. The world hasn't seen the upside yet. They've only seen, as I already said, the floor. So it's really just only time will tell, as only in week 3,
Absolutely. I guess the question is, do you really see optimism in that this team can reach that ceiling that we've been talking about, or is this floor just how the team is?
Well, I do. I really do see optimism because, I mean, what's a good season? What's a goal? A bowl game? 6-6? Already won 6 of the way there, right? So, I think, you can, I don't know if I want to say get lucky, but like can win some upsets, right? It's possible. It's possible for sure. And yeah, really to me, as I already said, it's just something I have to wait and see. I definitely think a bowl game is still in reach.
Yeah, I think really this Wyoming game is where we're going to figure out this team, and because coming up, we got a Big 12 gauntlet coming up. Wins are not going to come easy. They might not even come at all, depending on how we look against Wyoming. So we'll see how this Buffaloes team is going to pan out the rest of the way. Anything else?
No, nothing else for me. Just wait and see.
Absolutely. All right, that does it for us here on this edition of Buff Banner. I'm Paxton Haynes with Colby Wyatt. See you guys back at the desk.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Folsom Feud. My name is Leo Rivera IV, alongside Shane Holcomb, and today we are going to preview the matchup between the Wyoming Cowboys and the Colorado Buffaloes, looking at this offensive side of the ball, which has been distraught. Shane, what are your thoughts?
My first thought, like Leo, is where is Colorado going to find success on their rushing attack, right? A couple different running backs that are some options. Some people coming back from injury, some people transferring in. Do you see this a little bit by committee, or do you see like one guy kind of taking the lead this weekend?
I think it's got to be someone take the lead here, right? We've seen this running back by committee thing for Colorado, and while they've had over 100 yards in each of the last 3 games, it really hasn't been as effective. Teams haven't felt that rushing attack, but I think they can rely on the legs of Simeon Price, who has been the leading rusher in each of the last 2 weeks, to come on and carry that workload.
Well, for me, Leo, I'd like to see Michael Welch continue to be involved in the passing game, right? We're expected to see Caden Salter start under center for C. We'll get into that a little bit later in the segment. But, I think that with Salter, if Wyoming do put a quarterback spy on him, that could kind of free up some guys on the outside. I like to see Michael Welch make some plays in space. Hopefully he can get them the ball there.
He's got great burst. And another guy in that room is DeKalen Taylor, who also is fantastic with the ball in his hands as a receiver. So many threats. But one of the guys you wanted to talk about, who didn't get to see any reps last week, but is back from the injury report, in Dallin Hayden. What are your thoughts on him?
Yes, this is a guy who came in from Ohio State, right? Highly touted recruit, and he didn't really get any time, like you mentioned, against Houston. I don't think he had 1 carry in that game. But listen, when you talk about a Colorado running back committee, it's always good to have options. My issue here is, okay, if one guy isn't going to take this lead, does that make Colorado one-dimensional, or is it better to have a couple of different options? Listen, any success on the ground I think would be a good thing for Colorado right now, because there's hasn't really been anything like that so far this season. But I guess transitioning right into where maybe things could go wrong in this game, Leo, where do you kind of see weaknesses offensively, defensively that Wyoming might be able to exploit?
Well, it's the third down percentage, right, Shane? That's something that you mentioned on that show this week. This team has been abysmal there. If they get in very predictable situations where they're in 3rd and long and their key weapons are shut off, right, A lot of teams have been able to put pressure on the quarterback, Caden Salter, Ryan Staub, and force them to have to move out and make error decisions and overthrow receivers. So I think having a more comfortable pocket and passes where the quarterback are able to get through their reading progressions quickly will make this offense much more efficient.
Well, it sounds like plain English, but you got to do better on first and second down, I think, as well, right, Leo? Like, this is a team that a lot of times against Houston, incompletions on first and second down put you behind the sticks. You're less likely to convert on third. And yeah, CU, I think it's like 34% of the season. It's one of the worst conversion rates in the whole of Big 12. And yeah, I mean, it's a problem because, again, when you talk about extending drives, you want to get some momentum, establish kind of your dominance in the game against a lesser opponent in Wyoming this weekend. You're going to want to be able to run the ball on first and second down, which will help you on third. But again, for me, it's those short yard situations where maybe Caden Salter can use his legs to pick up the first down.
Well, let's talk about that quarterback now in Caden Salter because he is returning back into the starting lineup after we saw a stint of Ryan Staub last week. And, a lot of talk was made about Juju Lewis, potentially coming in, and Ryan Staub stole that show. What do you think about this, roulette of quarterbacks and how it's been playing out?
Well, I think that we got to stop playing roulette, Leo. That's my opinion, right? I mean, listen, there's a carousel here currently. And right now, I think what CU needs is stability. That's what I think Salter can provide them with, right? This is a guy who, again, 29 career wins, mind you, as a starting quarterback. Obviously, majority of those came with his time at Liberty, but this guy knows how to win. And at the moment, I think CU needs experience and needs stability. He's probably the most likely option to provide that. I don't really see Ryan Staub seeing the field. If anything, maybe we might see a little Juju Lewis in this game. Again, though, I think if you aren't putting out if you are putting out more than one quarterback in this game, something I think has gone wrong for CU. So hopefully, Salter can kind of, stake his identity and get a little bit more comfortable with this offense. But who on the outside in the wide receiver game do you think he can kind of find a connection with?
Yeah, obviously Draylon Miller and Omarion Miller have kind of been the big names, and Omarion had a lot of targets last week in that receiving game. But I'm going to look at the guy Joseph Williams, who I was a big guy on last week. He had that touchdown in garbage time, and he was kind of able to be a one bright spot within the offense. I look for him to be able to get some more targets and be able to more of a deep downfield threat that these quarterbacks can be able to get the ball to.
Well, Leo, getting into our game predictions, right? I want to throw over to you for a little bit of a bold prediction. Maybe it could be specific as you want. But listen, Wyoming's coming into town. They're going to probably put up a little bit of a fight. What do you think? How do you see this game playing out?
Well, this is my bold prediction. I think Colorado's offense is going to get back on track in the running game, and they are going to eclipse 200 total yards rushing as a team.
That's asking a lot.
That's a huge, daunting task, but behind the legs of the four running backs, as we mentioned, I think that's going to be my bold prediction.
Well, listen, if you don't know a lot about the Wyoming Cowboys, this is the one thing that you should learn about. Their special teams unit has been excellent this season when it comes to blocking kicks and blocking punts. They've blocked 2 field goals this season. They blocked 1 punt. That's the most in the FBS combined between the 2 categories. And I think, unfortunately for Mata, the place kicker for CU, he might get one blocked this weekend. That might kind of create a little bit of a momentum spark that Wyoming's going to need anything they can take right in this game. I'm not saying they're going to win the game, but I think that Mata's perfect record might come to an end, unfortunately, for him this weekend. Again, Wyoming has blocked 2 field goals already in 3 games.
That's a fantastic stat and a great thing to bring up. But one thing you forgot to factor in, Shane, is Mata don't miss. And especially at home, he is going to go perfect once again. But that is all the time we have for this week here on Folsom Feud. As always, I am Leo Rivera the fourth alongside Shane Holcomb. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, guys. It's time now to look ahead to the Buffs' upcoming game against the Wyoming Cowboys this Saturday. Our sister show, SBS Football Live, has the latest report on the final non-conference game of the season.
The Colorado Buffaloes return to Folsom Field to take on the Wyoming Cowboys in the final game of their non-conference schedule. What do you got?
I got Colorado. I don't want to build any suspense on that. I think the Colorado Buffaloes come in there and, maybe they'll feed off of Ralphie, see if that happens. Caden Salter, I think will get the start, and I want to see what the offense looks like around him. I want to see... I hope Pat Shermer takes like 5 energy drinks before this game.
Yes.
I want to see a high-octane offense. I want to see a defense that can at least get off the field. I don't have to see, 5 interceptions or 10 sacks. I want to see a defense that can consistently put together stops. And if I see that, then I have a little bit more confidence about Colorado going forward.
Listen, Harrison, thankfully, I mean, I did just have a solo shot, but we're on camera too, Pat. Listen, I'm talking to the Colorado football program right now. If you do not have a sense of urgency for this game, I don't know what game you're going to have a sense of urgency for, right? This game, it's not going to be glitz and glamour, right? I'm back on camera 3 now. Thanks for the solo shot. Listen, parents are going to have to slum it out late into the night. I think that Wyoming is going to come. They sense blood. I'm going to give Colorado the advantage, but I think they might struggle, guys, like they have in the past 3 games. Listen, Wyoming's defense, you're talking about getting stops. I think they're going to get enough stops in the first half. And CU, you want to talk about a bad third down conversion team? Oh my goodness, this team is horrendous to watch on third down. It's because usually they're in these 3rd and 7 situations where, maybe Salter can actually use his legs to benefit them. I have CU, though, winning by 10 points, 31-21, but this one's going to go late into the night, unfortunately.
Man, this is a late night game, so I hope that Pat Shurmur and the coaching staff is going to follow in Juju Lewis's footsteps and pick up their Starbucks drink before the game. Yes. I know y'all saw that ad. All right,
Pumpkin spice is back.
Pumpkin spice is back. I'm a big pumpkin spice guy, I must admit. But back on track. This Wyoming team poses so many threats. The way they were able to play Utah, when I was looking at that game at half, it scared me. All right, and I'm not even the one out there playing. I'm not even padding up, and I'm still having nightmares.
He's not going to pick Wyoming, right?
And I look at the fact that they're coming down from up on the border, and they're pissed off. And they're going to come in and want to have a statement against the Colorado Buffaloes. But that's not going to happen on the return of Ralphie? Nah. Are you kidding me?
Game time.
I don't even know what the name of our new Ralphie is. They retired Ash, but we're going to see who comes out.
It was Ember, wasn't it?
Or Ember, my apologies, Ember. Yeah. We're going to see who comes out trotting out this week. But behind the legs of the offense, give me the Colorado Buffaloes.
Yeah, I know what you said, not building suspense. But man, I'm sorry. The panic button's right here. The panic button is right here, and I'm hovering over it right now. The Colorado Buffaloes are struggling, folks. There's no way around it. This team is struggling. Put your hands here. We're panicking, okay? We're waiting on this. We're holding our hands over this panic button.
I'm sweating, dude.
Until we can actually prove that we can beat a team. They lost by 16 against Houston. It's supposed to be our Big 12 tune-up game. The defense can't stop a clock, and their linebacking core, they actually have some decent linebackers. They're growing linebackers out in Wyoming. And I don't know if you knew this, but they were
boys are big.
Utah figured it out, and eventually they adjusted, but I don't know if Colorado's got that same energy in there. We don't even know who we're trotting out at quarterback.
But Dion knows.
But I don't care who we're trotting out at quarterback. Send Dion out. Send Ralphie 7 out. Give me the Buffs by 1,000,000. No matter who we got running that offense, I'm taking the Buffs to destroy the Wyoming Cowboys. Thank you all for joining us here on SBS Football Live. Liam Howard alongside Harrison Simeon, Leo Rivera IV, and then, of course, Shane Holcomb. Thank you for joining us today for the first time. Thank you all for joining us here in the studio, and you heard it here first.
This weekend, Wyoming gallops into Boulder for the Buffaloes' last non-conference game. The Cowboys lost to the 20th-ranked Utah Utes, but hold an overall record of 2-1 for the year. Through their 3 games, Wyoming has showcased a stout defense, allowing the 3rd least yards and the least points per game in the Mountain West. Meanwhile, on the offensive side, the Buffs are averaging the 3rd least yards per game in the Big 12 and are still, Colorado maintains a humongous favorite over Wyoming, as the bookies have made the Buffaloes 2 touchdown favorites with a 13.5-point spread. For Colorado, they look to get back on track and lasso the Cowboys before they start the dog days of their Big 12 schedule. Let's take you now to Lincoln Roach with the weather report for Saturday night's game.
It's going to be a late one at Folsom Field on Saturday when the Colorado Buffaloes take on the Wyoming Cowboys, but one benefit, weather won't be too bad. At kickoff at 8:15, we're going to see temperatures of 66 degrees. Still a bit of sunshine as the sun sets. You at least get the beautiful sunrise of the Flatirons. But by halftime, it's going to be 10:30 and still 66 though, so not too bad. But ending with that full time at 11:15, it will be getting down to 60, so maybe bring a sweater. But overall, definitely we've experienced worse games for home football. Back to you.
It's week 3, Colorado at Houston.
we're checking out wings once again. Here's Joseph Williams. Because we've been asking everyone, do you have a favorite food spot in Boulder so far? And if so, what do you get?
Favorite food spot? I like this wing spot out here called Wing Shack.
Okay.
And yeah, I like to get their lemon pepper wings.
All
So
right.
like, that's probably my favorite spot out here so far.
Hopping straight into a flat. Let's give it a bite. Really good crunch. Joseph Williams is a really lengthy dude. He's long. He's got a crazy catch radius. Kind of reminds me of these fries right here. Joseph Williams held in 5 catches last week against Delaware. Utilized a lot in the short game, but he's hoping to show what he can do with the ball in his hands after the catch, or in contested scenarios like this one. This Colorado offense has so many weapons, whether it's Joseph Williams, Hakeem Williams, Sincere Brown, Draylon Miller, or in the running back room, Simeon Price, DeKalen Taylor, who basically is another wide receiver, and Michael Welch are all feasible weapons that these quarterbacks are half going to take advantage of for Colorado to get a win. Colorado's defense held up to their end of the bargain last Saturday against Delaware, but it's going to be the wide receiver core of Colorado's offense that needs to stand up, and it starts with Joseph Williams. Ooh, we left nothing but the bones, just like Colorado's going to have to do this Friday night if they want to get the dub. Thank you so much, Wing Shack, for having us. Here's the address. As always, I'm Leo Rivera IV. Let's go Buff Sports.
This week's trivia question brings us to bowl season. CU football has played in 8 bowl games this century. When was the last time the Buffs came out victorious? Stay tuned to find out the answer later in the show.
The women's volleyball team had their first taste of action in Boulder last weekend at the Buffs Invitational, a contest where the Arkansas Razorbacks opened the round-robin 3-day weekend. During the second set, a crowd of over 1,000 rose to their feet as an attack error gave CU their first home set win of the season. Junior Anna Barilovich slammed down a season-high 20 kills in the Buffs' 3-1 win. The Buffs then shifted their focus to the Toledo Rockets, where Barilovich once again shined. She had 4 of the team's 10 aces, which powered them to a 3-set sweep. Kayla Pang was the highlight on Sunday against the Denver Pioneers, and she was named the Buffs Invitational Tournament MVP as the Buffs swept their Metro rival.
After a fun, undefeated weekend at the Buffs Invitational, the Buffs got served up in Fort Collins as they got swept 3-0 Thursday night against Colorado State. The Buffaloes' defense wasn't looking too hot as the Rams did everything right that the Buffs did not. The black and gold were very sloppy throughout the match as they had a low hitting percentage. But although Anna Barilovich had 12 points, it just wasn't enough to top a win over the Rams. ScoBuff Sports sent a crew up to Moby Arena in Fort Collins to cover the game. Let's take you to the scenes after the game on Thursday.
What's up, Buff fans? I'm Patrick Dawson with ScoBuff Sports here at Moby Arena. The Colorado Buffaloes just lost their first game of the season in a 3-set sweep to the Colorado State Rams. Buffs were just outplayed both offensively and defensively. Could not get a stop, could not put points on the board. All 3 sets started pretty evenly, but once the Rams took a lead, they just never looked back. Buffs are back in town in Boulder tomorrow, where they take on the Rams again in the second game of the 2-game series, and they hope to avoid a sweep and take the Golden Spike back to Boulder. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm Patrick Dawson, ScoBuff Sports.
In just 2 hours, the Buffs will have a second chance for victory against the Colorado State Rams, but here at home at the CU Event Center. CU had a rough night Thursday, being swept 3 sets, but the key to preventing being swept again on your home turf is defense. Offensively, Colorado State was the more dominant team in terms of hitting, as they went over .200 in their hitting percentage. And when you can hit more dominantly and the defense leaves places for the opponent to score, that's where you'll lose your momentum. To take home this matchup, the Buffs need to tighten up gaps and not leave spaces where the Rams can score.
After the Golden Spike Series, the volleyball team travels to Provo for a Big 12 game against 11-0 BYU. The Buffs have their work cut out for them, as the Cougars have swept 8 of their 11 opponents this season. Both teams have similar defense stats, but BYU's attack is the strong suit with 100 more kills on the season than CU. BYU has won 5 out of the 6 games they have ever played against CU, and CU has lost 3 straight against the Cougars. The game is on Thursday at 6 and will be streamed live on ESPN+.
This Thursday, the Buffs varsity soccer team kicked off their Big 12 season against Kansas State. Colorado overpowered the Wildcats in goal attempts with 14 shots and 5 on goal, while K-State had only 7 shots and 1 on goal. Despite the hard-fought battle between both teams, the game ended in a goalless draw. This outcome leaves Colorado ranked 6th in the conference, with Kansas State just below them. Currently, Arizona State leads the Big 12, with Kansas and Houston following close behind. The Buffs will continue their season on Thursday, September 25th, hosting Iowa State, currently ranked 4th in the league. The teams will meet on Prent Up Field at 7 p.m., where Colorado will have another chance to defend their stomping grounds.
We're live from Prent Up Field right after CU's 0-0 draw with K-State. It was a defensive battle all the way through. There was only 4 shots on target all game. Jordan Knights had a huge save in the first half, and towards the end of the second half, Emerson Lane had 2 chances that she couldn't convert on. CU returns to Prent Up Field next weekend to take on the Iowa State Cyclones. This was Aaron Muslomo with Scobo Sports.
After the Buffs 0-0 score, the Iowa State Cyclones lie next on the schedule. Iowa State sits at 3-1-2, headed to Boulder next Thursday. The Cyclones opened up Big 12 play against the Arizona Wildcats. Colorado is 11-0-1 against Iowa State since 2001. The game will be at Prentnum Field with kickoff at 7 p.m. on ESPN+.
Welcome to Folsom Feud. I'm your host, Colby, here with 3 contestants today, Lincoln, Balin, and Kieran. Lincoln, start us off.
I'll take game day etiquette for 200.
All right. This is the best way to show respect during the CU fight song.
What is standing, singing loud, and raising your hand in the hook 'em horn sign?
Not what we're looking for. Balin, you have an answer?
What is stand up, sing loud, and do the Ralphie horns?
Correct. Balin, the board is yours.
Give me tailgate traditions for 400.
All right, here's the answer. The must-have item to wear on game day to show your Buff pride. Kieran?
What is black and gold?
That's correct. Nothing says school spirit like those 2 colors. Choose the next one.
Let's do fan etiquette for 600.
Fan etiquette. The proper response when you hear someone yell, "Go Buffs."
What is Skull Buffs?
Skull Buffs is right. Looks like we've got some true Buffs fans here. But thank you all for tuning in. Thank you to our contestants, and see you next time.
Debuted a new uniform on Monday. Designed by Nike, the silver alternate jersey redesign features the classic Buffalo logo in white and black, while the shorts feature the word Buff in large lettering on the sides. Reaction on social media has been largely positive, with ex-user Rocky Mountain Buff saying, quote, "I like this high key, mid key, and low key."
Women's golf teed off their season at Washington's Champion Bay Golf Course this last weekend in the Leadership and Golf Invitational. Debuts from Tiamat Petitin, Maya McVeigh, and Brenna Higgins led them to tie for 6th place with a 20 over par. The 3 new additions have head coach Madeline Shields excited for what's to come. She says, in quote, "We're learning from that first 36-hole day on a big golf course. I thought they put in a really solid effort."
This week, men's golf opened the season on a high note. The Buffs competed at the Palusi Collegiate in Washington, tying for 3rd after 3 rounds. Head coach Roy Edwards said, quote, "This is going to be a special group who has a high desire to compete, but consistency will be more important than ever moving forward," end quote. The team will return to action this weekend when they head to New Mexico for their next tournament.
Trading golf clubs for tennis rackets, the Buffs sent Lara Alexin and Emma Bubalo to the Battle of the Bay Tennis Classic last weekend. As a duo, Lexon and Bubalo thwarted Washington State in an 8-6 tiebreaker to advance to the quarterfinals. Finishing doubles play on the second day of the tournament, the par dropped against Oklahoma State 8-3. Individually, both players lost in round 32. Each won a match in the consolation bracket before falling. The two finished 5-5 this past weekend and will have a racket at the Bedford Cup in Colorado Springs next weekend.
Go from the courts to the mound, the club baseball team is scheduled to play their home opener on Sunday. They take on the Denver Pioneers in a doubleheader, with the game set to be played at Scott Carpenter Park at 11-1. This past weekend, they started their season at Air Force in Colorado Springs. The team is looking to make a run at a conference win after finishing 13-9 last season.
Men's D1 hockey opened their season last week hosting the D2 Denver Pioneers and MSU Roadrunners. Friday night's matchup against the Pios looked promising for the Buffs after 40 minutes. The momentum dwindled as DU pulled a late comeback in the third period, winning 3-2. Saturday night saw a thriller against the Roadrunners with tons of physicality on both sides. The Buffs walked away with an electric 4-3 victory in overtime, courtesy of Emerson Molas. Sunday's match was short-lived as the intense physicality and 2-0 score after 30 minutes forced MSU to forfeit. A shock to those in attendance and our broadcast team. This kicks off a long road for the Buffs, who won't return to the ice in Boulder again until November 7th.
After a weekend of play, all three men's club soccer teams remained undefeated. Team Gold beat Colorado School of Mines and Colorado College 1-0 and 3-1 respectively. Team Black tied at 2 with the In-State Tigers, and Team White took down Regis 3-0. On Sunday at noon, Teams Black and Gold will play a scrimmage, while Team White travels to Fort Collins for Colorado State's Team Green.
On the women's side, results have looked awfully similar. Team Black dominated Colorado State 3-1. A trio of goal scorers helped Team Gold take down Colorado Mesa 3-0. Finally, a last-second penalty kick allowed Team Silver to come from behind and draw with Colorado College. Just like the men, Teams Black and Gold scrimmaged this Sunday while Silver hosts CSU.
Hey Buff fans, I'm Kieran Walker bringing you this week's top 5 plays in Colorado sports. There were some interesting ones this weekend, so we're going to dive right in with our number 5 pick this week. We go to club soccer last Sunday, women's soccer against Colorado College. We have a penalty kick coming up here, and Bella Boomin, sorry for the frame rates folks, but that is in. You got to trust us here, and that was the lone goal scored for Colorado that day. 1:15 to go in the second half. Holy cow. Let's go to number 4 now, where we go to Houston for football. Ryan Staub takes the snap. He's going to look downfield. He's got a man wide open as he rifles it. And an easy catch for Joseph Williams. And the lead is cut to 13 for Houston. Not exactly great, but let's go to number 3 now. We go to volleyball, who hosted the Buffs Invitational last weekend. We got the University of Arkansas Razorbacks. Play looks good, and it's killed by Anna Barovich. And that seals the game for Colorado, who remained undefeated up to that point. But let's go to number 2. We go back to Houston for football. Ryan Staub, he's going to take the snap, hands it off to Simeon Price, and he's got a pocket right up the middle, and he's going to take it to the house for Colorado. First points on the board for the Buffs in the second quarter. About halfway through, that is. Let's go to number 1 now. We had hockey opening up this past weekend in Boulder. David Hofteaser takes it spinorama Wayne Gretzky style and sneaks it just past the left pad of DU's goaltender. Folks, that is how you start a season. And he and his teammates head to the bench and just get those pounds going. That is how you start, folks. We had some electric plays this week, and we'll be searching for some more plays this weekend. But I'm Kieran Walker, wishing you all a wonderful weekend, and Sko Buffs.
Here we see Xavier McNevitz working on his reader for the live show. If we didn't have these readers done by Thursday night, chances are we would not be airing this show right now. Be like Xavier. Get your readers done. And don't forget to click save so that you don't lose any of your hard-earned work.
Hey Buffs, I'm Jackie Rivera, and I'm here to give you this week's Rapid Fire. Lots happening this week, so let's get to it. First things first, we've got football Saturday night kicking off at 8:15 at Folsom Field, where the CU Buffaloes will go head-to-head against the Wyoming Cowboys. If you can't make it to this game, make sure to catch it on ESPN. Then, Sunday afternoon, we have a baseball doubleheader at Scott Carpenter Park. First pitch at 11 a.m. against Denver. Now let's keep putting along to Monday and Tuesday in women's golf. It's the Ram Classic against Colorado State in Fort Collins. So if you're in the neighborhood, make sure to catch that. And last but certainly not least, we have cross country traveling to Columbia, Missouri for the Gans Creek Invitational on Friday. It's going to be a fun week of sports at CU. I'm ready for it, and I know you are too. Let's get out there and make some noise for our Buffs. That's this week's Rapid Fire. Back to you at the desk.
Earlier in the show, we asked you the last time Colorado football won a bowl game. The answer is, drumroll please, 2004. Even though the Buffs have played in 8 this century, CU hasn't tasted victory in the postseason since a win over UTEP in the Houston Bowl.
Our tweet of the week comes from Deion Sanders Jr.'s Instagram. He revealed Colorado practicing on Folsom Field on Thursday night in preparation for tomorrow's 8:15 p.m. kickoff. One could say our very own Leo Rivera caused this shift of practice. Upon questioning of last weekend's embarrassing loss to Houston, Deion Sanders noted that night games are his team's kryptonite. He's not far off, as Colorado is 5-9 in contests 7:30 p.m. or later in the Coach Prime era.
We close with the loss of one of CU's all-time great alumni, Robert Redford, the prolific actor with lead roles in quote, The Natural and in quote, All the President's Men, peacefully passed away Tuesday. He was 89. Redford attended the University of Colorado for a year and a half in the 1950s on scholarship for the then varsity baseball team. He also worked a job at the Sink Restaurant and Bar on the Hill. Redford went on to win an Oscar, 5 Golden Globes, and spent his latter years as a passionate environmentalist. The Sundance Film Festival, which he helped found, will move to Boulder starting in 2027.
That's going to wrap up this week's edition of Sco Buff Sports Live. We hope you all have a wonderful weekend cheering on the Buffs. I'm Zachary Giesenslaw.
I'm Gia Henriken.
And remember, you heard it here first.